Welcome to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Kenny Mack and myself coming to you today midweek to talk about the Amari Cooper trade, what it means for the Browns going forward, what it means for the rest of our season and potentially our future, how we kind of feel about the move, and then obviously for these episodes, we want to know what you guys are thinking. So this is where we go and we scour X, formerly known as Twitter. We kind of see what's trending in the Browns universe online, and we give you our thoughts on it. So we're going to talk about, obviously, Amari, obviously more Deshaun, what it means for the Browns, all that good stuff. So I want to thank everybody who watched our first episode. It was just the two of us. It kind of blew me away with how well it did. Sometimes our midweek episodes aren't quite as popular as the post-game reactions, obviously, but it did really well. So we appreciate everybody who watched. Apparently you guys like me and Kenny, or at least Kenny.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Before we dive into everything, though, remember, if you want to get intros and voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you have the notification bell tapped so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out. If you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us just on Apple, Spotify, and Google. And if you want more content, head to jointhedawgs.com to become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. Hang out with other cool people like Kenny and myself. Obviously, I'm a cool person. But no, just kidding. Also, if you want to find us on the socials, like I said, we're on X looking for all what's trending. Just search at the Dawgs Podcast. You'll find us on all the major ones. So, obviously, big news in Browns universe today is the Amari Cooper trade. I guess, Kenny, initially, what are your thoughts on trading him, maybe his Instagram post, just kind of the whole, did you ever see us being here 6 weeks into this season trading Amari Cooper? If I would have told you this 2 months ago, what would you have said?
No freaking way. There's no way that we would get rid of our best playmaker on the team. But what the trade, to me, it signals that the season's pretty much over when you get rid of your best guy. But I'll break down the trade so everybody knows what we got. So obviously we traded Amari. We received a third-round pick for this year. We received a seventh-round pick for next year, I believe. And then the Bills received a Amari Cooper, and they received a sixth round. But I'm thinking I got that backwards now. Maybe I copied and pasted that wrong. Anyway, so the pick was from Detroit. Now, it is still pending a physical, I believe. And how Browns would that be that we spend all our time talking about this and that physical fails for some reason?
His hands are broken.
Yeah. No doubt. Sorry. I got the picks wrong. We get the 25 because I wrote down what our haul is for next year. If anybody wants to know. So 2025, our picks, we have 1 through 4 and 6. Then we got a third from Buffalo. We got a sixth from the Bear and a sixth from Minnesota. So I meant to say I did get that right. So I don't see anything from the Bills on what we have. So, but as far as the trade's concerned, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. I'm disappointed in the season. It's odd to me that you would trade your best guy, like I said. I mean, I can't believe with the way that he runs his routes that we just couldn't get him better opportunities, And, but I mean, we called it a couple weeks ago. If we get down to 1-5, 1-6, this would be a best case scenario for us, I guess. We recoup some capital, and he gets to go on and have a good career, hopefully with the Bills.
It's one of those things where, in terms of what it means for us for the rest of the season, it means Kevin Stefanski can sit in his press conferences and say Deshaun gives us the best chance to win, and we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep getting better. But they know that we're not doing anything this year. If you think there's a chance to right the ship and make a playoff push, you don't trade Amari Cooper. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't do that. I know he's leading the league in drops right now, and he's struggling, but you wouldn't trade him. You're essentially punting on the season by trading your number one wide receiver after 6 weeks of the season. So,
yes, somebody actually said that the mentality of going 1-0 just dropped right out of the Browns stadium. I mean, if you're going to say that from this point with moving your best player, I mean, what are you going to? You're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. I mean, Browns fans aren't stupid. I mean, there's sometimes where we're overly emotional about certain trades and other things that may not necessarily materialized or would happen if they were still on this team. But I mean, come on, everybody's getting sick of hearing like we got to do better. We're going to get better, or, all that same jargon. Like it's getting rough out there, man.
This week's game is going to be a spectacle, and not in a good way. I almost feel bad for the players, because not all the players deserve, I think, what's going to be a very hostile atmosphere. But I've never seen a fan base so united in anger because of the expectations. Even the people who didn't think Deshaun was going to be good, they didn't want to make the move, I think they still thought this season was going to be better than what it is now. If they're being honest with you, they didn't foresee a 1-6 and statistically the worst quarterback play of, the last 20 years.
I got some stats on that actually. So Jamarcus Russell, between 1 and 6, his EPA was negative 63.8 on most of his dropbacks. Deshaun Watson is worse. He's negative 66.2. And that's the worst. That's the worst since 2000. And if you look at the bottom 8 drop pack success rates, he's in the bottom 8 for all. Jamarcus Russell's in the bottom. And ironically enough, we lost to Blaine Gabbert. We probably lost to Jay Field. Lost to Kelly Smith. Josh Rosen, I don't think so. We had him on our team. Mark Bulger for sure. And the other one's David Carr, not Derek Carr. But that's pretty rough. I don't blame him for wanting to get out of here. Cooper.
Yeah, in terms of Amari Cooper, he had the Instagram post today that said, some along the lines of move or rust. And some people are saying that's a shot at Deshaun, and then you're kind of hearing leaks that he was not a Deshaun fan. He didn't like him. He didn't think he was good. You're starting to hear that kind of stuff. A lot of times when there's smoke, there's fire. He kind of had the cryptic off-season tweet, and it's almost – I'm telling you right now, Amari Cooper is going to go up to Buffalo. He probably won't drop a pass the rest of the year. He got done what he wanted to get done. And I don't blame Amari Cooper he's 30 years old, and he came here thinking, we were ascending and we were going to – especially after last year, and then just to go off the rails like this, and then the organization is going to lie and say this guy gives us the best chance to win, and they're going to keep putting him out there. He just, we've talked about this at length. Nobody's focused. The whole team looks like a dumpster fire. It's just, so good for Amari. He was everything we wanted out of him for 2 years. He was a great player here, kept his head down, went to work. He showed up consistently and performed. And in terms of the deal, outside of the fact that Buffalo I almost think it's a win-win. Buffalo looks at this as, we just got a guy who's, a fringe one, receiver, one, I wouldn't call him in the top 10, but he's definitely in the top 12 to 13 receivers probably, at least if he starts catching the ball again. And they got him for around under $1 million because we already paid most of his salary. So they got him for under $1 million,
cashed him out
in a 3rd round pick, and they just got a guy who can come onto their team and lead their team in receiving. So I mean, that's obviously a good get if you're the Bills, who look like they have a potential Super Bowl run in their system this season. And then if you're the Browns, it's a good move for you in terms of, you wish you didn't have to do it at this point in the year. We didn't expect to be here, but this guy was clearly not going to be back next year. He wasn't playing well. He leads the league in drops. He's on the wrong side of 30. So to get. And we only paid a 5th for him. And so to go out and get a 3rd for a guy, 2 years, he's 2 years older, 2 more seasons under his belt, and you're going to lose him anyways. So to be able to get a 3rd round pick, I didn't think they'd get a 3rd. I figured they'd at most get, at the absolute most, I was thinking 4th. I more realistically thought like a 5th round draft pick. So to get a 3rd, I almost, obviously it's more of a win for Buffalo because they're the team that's going to be winning games. But in terms of what we could realistically expect to get in terms of compensation, I feel like we did pretty well.
Yeah, there's different thoughts of it on the internet. Like, one of the ones that I'm seeing the most of is boomers, and it's stupid, and they don't like it. And the reason is because he's got the most Pro Bowls on the team. He had the most touchdowns in the last little bit as a receiver. Like, I mean, when's the last time that we had receiver with back-to-back 1,000 yards? We wanted to see back-to-back 1,000 yards with this guy, and it's not going to happen. The other thing is where you're saying, where everyone's like, well, it's kind of even, or it's like, you know, he can get his at Buffalo. We're going to get ours or recoup whatever we lost. We got actually more. We gave up, what, 2 5th rounds or a 5th?
I think it was 1/5.
Oh, 1/5? Okay. So I wanted to look that up too. But either way, let's say it's a 5th and we swap 6th or something. We'll always forget about those back ends of the deal or whatever. And but we got a 3rd and we got a 6th out of it, right? Like, I mean, that's more than what we got. But then the caveat to that is people now they're complaining about Barry and he can't draft 3rd rounders and he can't draft worth a damn. And you know what I mean? So then there's the other rule of thumb that you were kind of getting to is where people are saying, hey, you know what? The Browns didn't do him dirty because somebody brought that up, but they actually gave him a chance to get out of here. It wasn't working out. He was wasting away. So as he said, rust, right? And they moved him to a team with a good quarterback. And it seems like that was a good move. I mean, even like as dirty as they said they did Baker, most fans think that, they actually sent him to a team where he had a shot to start.
Yeah.
You know? And he blew his chance there, you know, and he got to go to another chance. The Carolina Panthers didn't do him dirty either. They let him go to the Rams, right? The actual thing that he put on is, to get back to what you were saying about the Insta story, it said move or rust, right? And if he was going to stay in Cleveland, he certainly was going to rust because Deshaun can't get him the ball. But I wanted to touch on a point on that quickly, okay? So I love Nathan Zagura, and he said, wow, he's a consummate professional, leader in receiving yards 2 years in a row. His preparation was very much like Joe Thomas. But then when he leaves, very odd for a guy to say, move or rust.
A lot of people are saying it was a dig at Deshaun because of all the rust talk.
Yeah, so, I mean, as a consummate professional as you are, you could have just left it. we put him in a good spot. You know what I mean? But maybe he's saying that for his boys back there. I don't know.
I feel like in terms of what you're saying with like the boomers about wanting to see him get the 1,000 yards and blah, he could have played every game, every snap this year. He wasn't getting 1,000 yards. He's going to be lucky to get 300 yards the way this season's going. Dude,
it's so much like you're saying. Like there's a guy that put out a post and he literally showed Bernie Kosar dropping a bomb to Webster Slaughter in the exact same fashion that Flacco did with Cooper last year. And it's like, oh, remember those days. It's the same thing. Of course I want to remember those days. We actually won. That's why I'm a Browns fan. Love Bernie and the boys. But it ain't happening this year, man.
What it says to me about maybe the future of the team, I know we talked about on our reaction episode yesterday to the game, was we all kind of feel like maybe it's going to go so far off the rails that like everybody might get fired. And even though we're not calling for Stefanski and AB to get fired, it might get so bad and so ugly that you just have to clean house, just kind of out of necessity. But I think if you're Andrew Berry, you don't trade Amari Cooper if you think your job's in jeopardy, because if you think your job is in jeopardy and you don't think you're going to be here next year anyways, you keep him on your team and try to win as many games as possible this year to save your job. So I feel like AB has some assurances like he's not going anywhere. I don't know about Kevin, but we kind of talked about this. Like maybe they got together at the beginning of the year and said, this guy's getting a season. It doesn't matter what happens. He's getting a season. And we're going to, if he's terrible, then we'll fix it. But this year is Deshaun's year. And don't worry, you guys will all be back. Obviously, the key to this is they all just got extensions. So Jimmy's already paying a boatload of money to a quarterback who can't play. Does he want to pay a boatload of money to GMs and coaches who aren't GMing and coaching for him also? At some point, you want to quit burning your money or throwing it down the toilet.
You got to think it's at some point too, like Kevin Stefanski's got to say, like, if it's not going to work here, I still want to be a head coach. The way this is going, that ain't going to happen. You know, he's going to have to build himself up through the ranks. he'll probably be an offensive coordinator again. Like, he can scheme guys open. They're just not getting hit. But all these guys at some point, like, I don't know when Miles is going to start kicking down an office door. I don't know when. I mean, I can't see Chubb doing it, but some of these offensive linemen, like Batonio's going to be like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Trade me back to Nevada, my home state. You know what I mean? Like, Teller's like, trade me to freaking Maryland, like Baltimore, the Redskins. Like, these guys, someone's got to kick that door down and say, I've had it, you know? Because it can't be me.
This episode is sponsored by Leaf Filter. Browns fans, whether the team is winning or not, you are the most diehard, loyal fans in the league, year in and year out. And just like you, Leaf Filter has been supporting clean gutters in Northeast Ohio year after year. And because Leaf Filter is the official gutter guard of the Cleveland Browns, they have a limited time offer for all of you barking dogs. Right now, you can get up to 32% of your entire qualified purchase and 2 free official Browns jerseys at leaffilter.com/dogs. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever cleaned your gutters, but it's a tedious, messy, time-consuming chore. So cut down on your weekend home maintenance, cross off another item on that to-do list so you can spend more time watching football on your days off. Leaf Filter uses award-winning patented technology to keep everything out of your gutters except for the water. Schedule your free gutter inspection today for a free no-obligation estimate on protecting your home from flooding, roof damage, rotting siding, foundation issues, and all those things you really don't need to be dealing with as a homeowner. A Leaf Filter trusted pro will clean out your gutters, realign and seal them before installing Leaf Filter. Schedule your free inspection now, and for a limited time, get up to 32% off your entire qualified purchase and 2 free Browns jerseys at Leaf Filter, leaffilter.com/dogs, DAWGS. That's a free inspection, up to 32% off, and 2 free Browns jerseys with a qualified purchase at leaffilter.com/dogs. Offer valid on a first-come, first-served basis while supplies last. Full terms and conditions can be found at leaffilter.com/dogs. See representatives for warranty details. Hey, Browns fans, even though the Browns kind of suck again, there's still plenty of actual good, real football that you guys can watch this season, and that's where Underdog Fantasy has got you covered. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats, for example, touchdowns, passing yards, and more. Honestly, you can still have fun with the Browns. I mean, Deshaun or whoever's playing quarterback, their touchdown line will probably be like 0.5, 1.5, something like that. So, hey, pick the lower, and it'll get you there more times than not. But anyway, the Underdog app, it's easy to use. I've been playing fantasy sports on Underdog for years. I play a ton of best ball on there, and this higher, lower stuff, the picks just adds way more fun to each and every Sunday. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code DAWGS to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 and older, 19 and older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
We talked about it in the Discord a lot today. I think if you're selling Amari Cooper, that means other people are probably for sale. And it made sense to sell Amari because of the things we already talked about with his age and his contract and stuff. But do you think there's other guys on the Browns that make sense to move right now? I know some names in the Zadarius Smith. The Detroit Lions are probably going to be looking for an edge rusher with Aiden Hutchinson going out. In the way that they're playing, and they're primed to make their run this year. San Francisco looks more beatable than ever. The Rams are having a down year. Like, it looks like the NFC is Detroit's to lose right now. I don't think they're going to sit on their hands and just be like, well, our defense will figure it out with Aiden. So you've heard guys like the pie in this. I've heard Joel.
The pie in this guy's Miles.
Huh?
The pie in this guy's Miles. The pie in this guy's Miles for them. Like, I got tons of Detroit Lions fans where I grew up. You're a Lions fan, you're a Browns fan, maybe a couple Bills fans in there. And they're all like, hey, what would you give up for Miles? At this point, for me, like, I still don't even want to handle, like, talking about this rebuild. Like, I'm, like, not there yet. I know we're not good. I get it, everybody. I don't want to trade anybody. I didn't even want to trade Cooper today. Still dealing with that crap. And, to get Myles Garrett, off the Browns, I mean, you're looking at what? 2 first rounders? And I don't know even if they have the cap space, because I just pulled it up while you were talking. He's owed the value of his contract, $125 million. So on average per year, it's $25 million that he's getting. He's guaranteed 44 of it. I mean, do they have that kind of space? I don't think so.
Well, look what we've made work. They'd figure it out. I guess obviously the logical things, if you're the Browns, like Zadarius Smith is probably available. I don't think the Browns would trade Joel Bitonio, at least not without going to him and asking him if he wants traded. I feel like he's going to get the Joe Thomas treatment. And if you kind of remember the last few years of Joe Thomas's career, I felt like there's a lot of talk about him going to Indy. I think Peyton was even actively recruiting him, trying to get him in Indy for his last few years there. And I feel like the Browns, they were like, do you want to go? If you want to go to Indy, we'll get you there, and he wanted to stay.
He didn't want to go.
And I feel like they'll give Joel's kind of earned that with the Browns. I feel like they'll give him the same treatment. If they're even thinking about entertaining offers for him, they would go to him and ask him if that's what he wanted. And I feel like he would also have a say on destination. Like, yeah, if you can get me here, I would consider something like that. So I don't know. I don't think they would just up and trade Joel. I do think Wyatt Teller could be a guy that they would trade. I love Wyatt Teller, but he hasn't necessarily been a guy who's going to warrant that kind of power in the front office, like being asked if you want to be traded. There's other guys out there that I think could potentially be traded. We talked about this a lot in Discord today. There's people like the Miles thing, because I think the Lions are going to want to make a big move. I don't think they want to replace Aiden Hutchinson with a role player. I've heard Max Crosby, and and knowing, which to me might be easier for them, because I think the Raiders are in sell mode, and they would also be willing to trade him. But Max Crosby is kind of what, to the Raiders, is what Myles Garrett is here. I mean, he has a Raider tattoo. He's all about Vegas Raiders. So trading him is kind of like trading the heartbeat of the team. And we kind of went back and forth.
He loved Devontae, though, man. He loved Devontae.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's his thing. Did you want to hear the high-value contracts I think that you might want to get rid of?
You can, for the Browns, you mean?
Yeah. So I would think you'd want to get rid of Thornhill.
Oh, for sure.
Zadarius Smith, you already mentioned. You'd want to get rid of, probably not Judy. I don't know about Tomlinson. Do you still want to pay him? Is he doing anything for you? And Jack Conklin. And some people are saying Denzel Ward. You could get by with Newsome, and you can get by with Emerson, and you get Cam. What's his last name? Yeah, Mitchell. Thanks. And you can get by with those 3, and then everybody else backing them up.
So here's what I think I'm not trading Denzel Ward, and just to touch on the Miles thing real quick. Like we talked about this a lot in the Discord, and some people in the Discord said they would 100% listen to offers for him. And some people said, absolutely not. You never trade Myles Garrett. And I can see both sides to this argument. And in my pushback, I guess I'll start this so people don't freak out. I don't want to trade Myles Garrett. I want him to retire a Cleveland Brown, because he's one of the best Cleveland Browns ever. He's one of the best players in the NFL. I love how invested he is into Cleveland. Minority owner of the Cavs. You just go to a Cavs game, there's a good chance you're going to see Myles Garrett there. I don't want to trade Myles Garrett. That being said, having Myles Garrett doesn't equate to wins. He's played on some of the worst teams in NFL history, and he's been great for all of them. And we went 1-31, and now we are 1-5. We've been under 500 for more seasons than we've been over 500 in his career. Having Myles Garrett, when you don't have the quarterback and other things around him, it doesn't equate to wins. It's like having Joe Thomas for 15 years. It doesn't equate to wins if you're so. To say you're holding on to him because you don't want to give up, you don't want to go into full rebuild mode. Even if you keep him, there's a chance you're in full rebuild mode, because his position doesn't equate to wins per se. That doesn't mean I want to trade him. Again, I want him to retire Cleveland Brown. But I think if Detroit calls you and says, we'll give you 2 first and 2 second, you have to seriously at least entertain that, because again, like you're at the point now, because of where you're at in the salary cap situation with the guaranteed money, unless you can get somebody to take his contract like Brock Osweiler, like we did for Brock Osweiler, we're not going to have a lot of money to play with in terms of adding pieces. You're going to need cheap labor, cheap talent. We are going to need to accumulate draft picks to survive the next 1 to 3 years if we want to add talent to this team. So I would 100% entertain that. And then just in Miles, I know he will never say he wants to leave Cleveland, and maybe he really doesn't. And I would ask him, and if he really, really doesn't, then I wouldn't do it no matter how many picks they offered us. But at least part of me goes, imagine seeing Miles get to play for Dan Campbell up in Detroit on that defense with that offense on a Super Bowl contender. How much fun would that be for him? And I'd go buy a Detroit Miles jersey and root for him on his way to a Super Bowl that he deserves to play in. He doesn't deserve to be here for another dumpster fire season. So I can see both sides. I don't want to trade him, but I can see both sides of the argument. And if you're the Lions, you'd be getting you'd be upgrading from Aiden Hutchinson, which you wouldn't think is possible, but you would be.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely buy what you're selling me there. However, I still want to throw my fist down on the floor like a little baby and cry and scream and say, no, don't go. Right. But yeah, I don't want him to go, but I see the value in that too. The only other guy that I can think of that you might want to move, and you might have to put a milk carton with his face on it, is Elijah Moore. I haven't seen much of him. Doesn't do much. I don't know what you could get for him, if anything. Again, it'd be like you'd be selling it as we were sold, like he's not in the right offense, but he's never been in the right offense, and I don't know what you would get for him. On the flip side of that, go ahead.
He's a guy who's kind of been I don't know how good he is. But it's so hard to evaluate wide receivers when he played in Nathaniel Hackett's offense with Zach Wilson, and then he played in an offense led by Deshaun Watson this year. It's just, do I think he's a great? No, I don't. He might not even be good, but it's so hard to really tell based on what he's got to do so far in his career. I think you'd be lucky to get a 6th.
Yeah, I think that's fair. In getting or moving on from Cooper, ultimately we have to move on with our receiver core, right? So our receiver core is going to shape out with Judy, Sedtill, Thrash, and Moore. I don't see those guys or anything getting better. One of the things going on there, the trending topics as well, Thrash and Sedtill will get more time. And I'm like, more time for what? More time to run routes and not get a ball? More time to, maybe practice their uncatchable catches? Are they going to look like Odell Beckham catching every single one because they're so off target? I don't get how this is going to make anybody any better. And to get back what we were saying about you get rid of your best receiver, you're going to say, okay, well, we're going to develop these guys, but we can't get the ball out. And we got the quarterback with the worst rated RPA or EPA in like decades, So I don't see anything getting better. So, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So I do want to see Cedric Tillman, and I really want to see Jamari Thrash play. And I know he hasn't been playing. He was injured, I think, at one point. I don't know if he's back healthy and he just hasn't been playing because we've had so many wide receivers. He just isn't getting the time. I think at this point, so if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said, let's put Jameson and try to get some wins. If you're selling Amari Cooper and whoever else we decide to get rid of in the next few days to weeks, it's DTR time. I feel bad for Jameis just skipping him, but Jameis isn't part of the future here, more than likely. So you put DTR in, and he either comes out and he plays well enough that maybe you decide to use him maybe he's the future. I don't think he's the future, but maybe he's the future. Or maybe he plays well enough where you think he can be a bridge quarterback and you can take Travis Hunter in the first round this year instead of going quarterback, and then you wait for your quarterback the next year. Or he plays well enough and you still want to take a quarterback, but now you can trade him for a 3rd or 4th or 5th round pick or something to be somebody's backup somewhere or to somebody who needs a bridge quarterback. You got to put him in. Playing Deshaun, we know what we have. It's garbage. Jameis Winston, as much as I'd like to, I would have loved to have seen Jameis play 3-4 weeks ago when the season wasn't lost, and because I think he would give us a chance to win. But now the goal of the season is completely changed. One, the goal is to make sure you get a top 3 draft pick. And I know Browns fans don't want to hear that, but I don't want to win that many games going forward because I want to make sure we can get one of the top 3 guys in this coming draft. A guy who can change the franchise, a guy who can take this from being a full-on rebuild to it being a soft rebuild. You know, that's the difference. If you somehow rattle off wins and you finish with the 9th pick, I mean, maybe you'll do it, but you got a lot better shot if you're in the top 3. I watched the Texans go from worst team in football to contender because they got the quarterback right. Okay.
Oh man, if we could have hindsight, man, if we could have took those picks and get CJ Stroud, man. But I mean,
you know,
what are you going to do?
It doesn't have to
spill milk.
It doesn't have to be a full rebuild. If you lose your games, get a top 3 pick, and you hit on that pick, it doesn't have, because if we don't trade Miles, we don't trade Denzel Ward. You got Miles, you got Denzel Ward, you got JOK. You got a good young core still under contract. Like
Delpit's still good, man.
Yeah, Grant Delpit. It doesn't have to be a full-on rebuild, tear it to the studs, 0-16, 1-15 kind of rebuild. If you got your core intact, like your main core, if you can just add some pieces and you actually hit on your draft picks, we can be good again next year. This can be a one-year thing.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like the goal for this year is to now we're already looking to the future, and I know it sucks. Trust me, we didn't expect to be here, but now it's all about seeing what we got. So yes, if Jamari Thrash is, I'd put Judy in my 1, I'd put Tillman in my 2, I'd put Thrash out there, and those would be the guys running every single route, because those are the guys who you need to see if Tillman's worth keeping around. You need to see if Thrash is worth keeping around. Judy's going to be here because we just extended him. But I don't think Judy's a 1. I think he can be a very serviceable 2 with a good quarterback and a good offensive system and with a good 1 beside him. I think if Jerry Judy's your 1, it's probably not going to be a very explosive offense.
This episode is sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Hey, Dog Pack, we do a lot of fun promos on the show, but let me ask you a serious question this time. Do you think the world's going in the right direction, or, does it kind of feel like a lot of things are falling apart? Hurricanes, tornadoes, natural disasters, we just had a pandemic, foreign wars, threats of escalated conflicts. It could be a lot, guys. I get it. And if you're feeling alarmed, you're not alone. Your views, one way or another, they don't change the fact that we all need to be prepared for our families, and that starts with having an emergency food supply. We're living in crazy times, and that's why so many people are making sure their homes are prepared and stored with food. And right now, you can get yourself and your family ready with a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. It comes with delicious foods like creamy stroganoff, honey wheat bread, cheesy broccoli soup, spaghetti, chili mac, even pancake mix. The entire kit offers 2,000 calories every day, and the food lasts up to 25 years. Who knows what things will look like then? But if that dreaded day does come, you will be ready. Go to thedogspodcast.com/patriot right now to order your 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Protect your food situation for things like extended power outages, cyber attacks, natural disasters, quarantines, even things like job loss and income reduction, whatever the situation might be. Make sure that your most basic needs are covered so that you can focus on whatever else you need to do. That's thedogspodcast.com/patriot to order your 3-month emergency food kit now from My Patriot Supply.
Do you think there's anybody out there right now that you would see maybe being cut, possible low-end trade with a low pick? Like, I've seen people ask about Hopkins. I've seen people ask about, who's the guy that he played with? Williams from the Jets, because they just acquired Devontae, right?
Oh, Mike Williams.
And Mike Williams, thanks. And those are names that are surfacing around, and or do you just not take away reps from the guys?
I'm not adding a single piece to this team the rest of the year unless you can get a deal on an offensive lineman that you think will be here beyond this year. then
yeah, fair point.
You know what I mean? That's where my head's at. I want Tillman and Thrash. I don't care if it's cross-country practice for him because Deshaun can't get him the ball. I want tape on them. I want to see them out there running routes and see what they can do. And I want to see DTR play. And Nick Chubb is supposed to be back this week. As much as I want to watch Nick Chubb run the football, I don't even know if it's worth bringing him back.
So that's a huge one on the internet. I'm glad that you brought that up. My thing is I want to see him, and this is like I'm hanging all my hopes on this, man. I literally want to see something good, and for me, that's Nicholas Jamal Chubb, man. Fire him on that field and let me see him run. And guys are saying, well, maybe you should trade him. I don't know if he's tradable at this point. You don't even know if his knee's going to work. So I don't think you're trading him this year. No. Unless he comes out and has like a Raiders game, like he had 3 rushes for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, then there'll be some people asking for his services, right? But other than that, I just don't see it happening. And with DTR, I mean, might as well give the guy a chance. Like, I'd still rather see Winston try and win. I've seen enough rebuilds in my life because I got like probably 15 years on you or 12 years on you. So I've seen some awful stuff. Well, I mean, I guess you've seen all the same stuff I have. I got to see.
We've just seen more.
I don't know what I'm. Yeah. I guess I don't know what I'm bitching about. I just don't want to see it, and maybe because I'm just getting older, I don't want to see it no more. But I think they could turn it around anyway. But it's like I don't know based on the strength of the schedule what we're going to be able to do. So it's not like we have to dumb down the offense anymore because it's as low as it can possibly go because the shot just doesn't get it. So might as well throw the second year dude out there, No,
yeah, I agree. It's just the season is not going the way we anticipated. I mean, and I've just completely readjusted my expectations from I'm not even I would almost be, obviously, I don't want us to lose and I want to win football games, but at this point, that does more harm than good. Unless we're going to rattle off 10 in a row, which we're not going to do, no. It's not worth it. I'm already looking to see about guys like Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Quinn Ewers. Like, I'm already starting to envision those guys in a Browns uniform. I'm already envisioning what it's going to take to get Deshaun off of the team. I said it yesterday. I don't think you can bring him back. You can't bring him back in the facility next year, in my opinion. I think it's too negative. He's played too bad. I just think even if you have to pay him to be sitting at home, I don't think he can be in the building next year. It's too toxic.
So what do you do to get rid of him then? Because that's the biggest question that everybody wants to know right now. And obviously you already brought up the one main thing, right? As a team in 2016, I believe, or where's the date? 2017, we took on $37 million from Brock Osweiler, and then we just cut his ass. And $37 million for us to swallow that. We got a second-round pick from the Houston Texans. We're going to have to ask someone to swallow 96, 72 million. That's almost like 3 times, right?
It's
somewhere around there. And so what are we going to have to give up for that? If we got a second, is it going to be like draft day? We're going to give up 3 seconds so we can get our first back. I'm being silly, but at the same point, what do we got to do? Give up a 1? Because I don't want to give up another 1.
No, it's one of those things where the main team I've heard about in this scenario is the Carolina Panthers because they have a boatload of cap space and they need picks because they need to reload. Okay, so. They've been the main team I've heard when I've heard this scenario brought up, and it's everybody's saying they're going to come and they're going to ask for a 1. And if you're the Browns, do you bite the bullet and give up 1 more first round draft pick just to get him off of your and you wouldn't even get him completely off your books. You would be getting like half of it off of your books. You would still be on the hook for some. Do you do that just to get him out of the building and just to be done with it? But then I guess it depends on how much do you love one of these quarterbacks coming out of the draft this year or, a guy like Travis Hunter. Because if you absolutely love one of those guys, then you got to hold on to that first round pick. So then you start saying, do you throw another high end player with them in, a couple second round picks or something they're going to have to get creative. But that's going to be one of the only ways. It's either that or you keep them on your active roster and you just tell him to stay home and collect a paycheck. And that's basically the only other affordable way to do it, is to keep him on the roster. And then the other option, which we wanted to talk about, is it was reported today that even though he settled his most recent lawsuit out of court and there's a confidentiality agreement and all this, it was kind of assumed that then that meant the NFL would not be looking into it. But Roger Goodell announced today that the NFL is still investigating. So there is still a chance that he will be suspended or receive some sort of punishment from the NFL for this latest allegation, even though he settled. I don't know what is all involved in his settlement. There was supposedly a video. I'd have to think that part of the settlement agreement is that she wouldn't cooperate and give this video to the NFL. I don't know how all that works. But yeah, that's the cheapest, most affordable way for the Browns to get out of it. And as much as I would like that to happen, that also means there's probably really bad evidence that he did something pretty terrible to somebody. So I don't want that either. So
no, I mean, who wants to deal with that anymore? Like, I mean, there's a human being that got allegations against him for, and
these allegations
violated
are significantly worse than anything else that has come out. So
it's not good.
But that is, if the NFL suspends him, not only we don't have to pay him his contract, I believe we can recoup some money. I don't 100% know the details on, but I think we can recoup some of the money. So that's still in play. That was just announced today before we decided to start recording. Was the NFL is still investigating that. I know a lot of Browns fans are hoping for that. In the back of my brain, I'm it'd be nice, but then I depending on the evidence, that means you had to hope something pretty bad happened to somebody for that to happen. So it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
So
100%.
It's but there's not many options, and I know we had not even that long ago, like 6 weeks ago, we had Jack Duffin on here talking about how the Browns were fine with the cap because the way that they were operating this cap, we would be able to extend people and push it down the road, and you can split it up, and you do all this creative stuff, and you pay with cash. I guess one thing, and we need to get Jack back on here, is we never discussed what happens if the guy doesn't know how to play football anymore.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
So basically, what I think can happen is next year, regardless, we owe him $172 million, and then what you do is you have his contract's done in 2026, but you can do the 2 void or null years, whatever they call them, for the next 2 years. So you would have to cash pay him out, and then against the books, you would take that 172, and please comment if I'm wrong. You take that 172, and it becomes $43 million a year. And I've said it before. Well, technically, the salary cap goes up $30 million a year on average. The NFL has a great year, maybe it's $40 million. Well, then what ends up happening is you're running on the 2024, 2023 operating budget and kind of sinking Deshaun's cost and telling him just to go away, and nobody really wants that, because I mean, then we're really cheering on 2029 or 2030. I'm hoping I'm still around by then. Like freaking car comes and gets me, and then I've never seen the Super Bowl with the Browns in it, so who knows? But like, all jokes aside, it's a long time to wait, and this was what sucks about this guaranteed money, and it's the worst contract because you can't get out of it unless, like you were saying, we literally have to give picks away to a team that has a ton of cap room. Then they cut them and break. We owe some and they owe some, and go from there.
It's an ugly situation that the only way it gets better is if he miraculously starts playing better, which I don't foresee happening. So,
well, I mean, look at it. Like, we want to get on here. We want to talk about Amari Cooper and possible, and we're talking about Deshaun, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, people are like, well, Deshaun forced Amari out, and Deshaun's doing this. Who's the next guy that might just say, hey, I've had it, trade me or whatever? And man, if we can just get out of this situation and see something to hope for, something to cheer for, because when offense stinks, so does the whole team.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, I think that pretty much covers everything we wanted to cover. It's getting late. I know you got to get up in like 3 hours.
Yeah, I do.
So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a second time, seeing what we had to say about these trending topics. Again, if you want to get thoughts and stuff like that, just comment on the video, send us a direct message, leave a voicemail, all that good stuff. We'd love to talk about what you guys want to talk about on these episodes. Me and Kenny really enjoy doing them. Again, we appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us. And be on the lookout for our Bengals preview coming up. It will probably drop, I believe, on Friday. That'll be a Dog Pack Discord episode. So if you want to be a part of that episode, head to jointhedawgs.com. Make sure you do that before Thursday night, and you'll be able to jump in and get your thoughts on that show. So again, we appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Let's go, Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.